Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast. I'm your host, Mark. Today, we have a very special guest. He learned English fluently without living in an English-speaking country. Please welcome Louis. Hi, Louis. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here and share my story with your listeners.
Louis, your video about learning English on your own is really popular. Many of our listeners want to learn English, but don't live in the US or UK. Can you tell us a bit about your background?
I was born and raised in Tahiti, in French Polynesia. It's a small island in the Pacific Ocean. Here, people speak French or Tahitian. Almost nobody speaks English.
So, English wasn't part of your daily life growing up?
Not at all. I learned English in school for 7 years, like most people in the French system. But honestly, after 7 years, I couldn't really speak English well. I couldn't have a real conversation. Watching TV shows in English was very difficult too.
Many learners feel that way about school lessons. They learn grammar, but real communication is hard. When did you understand English wasn't good enough?
A couple of times. Once, I was studying in Switzerland. I met some exchange students, one British guy and one Irish guy. They were talking on a train. It was noisy and they spoke fast. I couldn't understand them well when they tried to talk to me. I felt bad because I had studied English for so long.
That sounds frustrating.
It was. Another time, I tried watching the movie The Hunger Games without subtitles. I ended up understanding very little. That's when I knew I needed to do something different. School wasn't enough. I needed much more practice.
So, what did you do? In your video, you talk about specific strategies. Let's start with the first one you mentioned, repetitive listening. What is that?
Repetitive listening was maybe the most important thing for me. It means listening to the same audio or video many times. For example, I really like some podcasts like Joe Rogan or Tim Ferriss.
Were they easy to understand?
No, not at first, especially Joe Rogan. They use slang, talk fast, and talk about things I didn't know. It was quite difficult for a non-native speaker, but I was interested in the conversations, so I listened to the same episodes again and again, over many days, weeks.
Why did repeatedly listening help so much?
Because repetition is key in language learning. When you hear the same words, the same grammar, the same pronunciation patterns over and over, your brain starts to recognize and learn them. It becomes automatic. It wasn't really an intentional study method at first. I just did it because I enjoyed the content. But then, I realized how powerful it was.
So, listeners could rewatch favorite YouTube videos or listen to podcast episodes they like multiple times?
Exactly. Choose something you find interesting. Listen again and again. You'll understand more each time. It helps build your listening skills and vocabulary naturally.
That's great advice. Okay, what was the second strategy you used? You called it making the switch.
Yes, making the switch. This means I changed my life to include as much English as possible. I tried to live as if I were in an English-speaking country, even though I was in Tahiti or Switzerland.
How did you do that? What kind of changes did you make?
I changed my phone language to English. I changed my computer language to English. When I searched for information on Google, I used English words. I started reading websites and news only in English. I watched movies and listened to music only in English.
Wow, that sounds like a big commitment.
It was. I tried to surround myself with English all the time. I even started trying to think in English. It helped me make an English environment, an English bubble around me.
You also pointed out that getting really fluent takes a lot of time, maybe thousands of hours. Does making the switch help with that?
Yes, definitely. Learning a language takes time, many hours, maybe hundreds of hours to be conversational, but thousands of hours for high fluency. By doing everything in English, you get those hours in naturally. You are constantly exposed to the language throughout your day. It's not just about study time, it's about living with the language.
That makes sense. You turn your daily life into learning time. Okay, so we have repetitive listening and making the switch. You also talked about a third strategy. This one was something you wish you had done differently?
Yes, this is something I learned later, especially when I started learning Japanese, which is much harder for me than English. It's about comprehensible input.
Comprehensible input? Can you explain that in simple terms?
Comprehensible input means reading or listening to things that you can mostly understand. Maybe there's only one or two new words in a sentence. It should be understandable, not totally confusing. Dr. Stephen Krashen calls this I plus one.
I plus one? What does that mean exactly, Lewis?
It's simple, really. It's not rocket science. The I is your current level, what you already understand. The plus one is just one small step harder. So, the material should be mostly easy for you, but with a little bit of new language to learn. Just a small challenge.
Okay, I understand now. So it should be mostly understandable, but with that little challenge. Not too easy, but not too difficult.
Exactly. When I look back, I think a lot of the podcasts I listened to early on, like Joe Rogan, were too difficult for me then. They were not very comprehensible. I learned something, yes, but maybe slowly. If the input is too hard, your brain struggles to learn from it effectively.
So what's the solution? Some materials can be boring, but native content like movies or podcasts is often too hard for beginners or intermediate learners.
That's the challenge. My advice now, the thing I wish I did more, is to use a specific method I developed to make difficult native content more comprehensible.
Okay, so how does this method work? How can learners make difficult content more comprehensible?
My method involves using the text of the audio or video. For example, find the subtitles for a Netflix show or a transcript for a YouTube video. The first step is to read this text before you watch or listen. While reading, you look up the words and phrases you don't know. You can use online dictionaries or translation tools. Understand the text first. This preparation is key.
So you prepare yourself first by understanding the text using its transcript or subtitles.
Yes. When you do this preparation work with the text first,
Then, when you listen or watch, it's much easier to understand. It turns difficult material into good, comprehensible input. You can learn from interesting, authentic content without feeling completely lost. That's a really smart approach you developed, Lewis.
exactly. I think if I had used this method more with English, my journey might have been faster and smoother. It makes your listening and watching time much more effective for learning.
That's a fantastic tip for our listeners, especially those at the A2 to B2 level. Use Lewis's approach to help understand authentic English content. Okay, Lewis, let's quickly summarize the main strategies for our listeners. Use repetitive listening. Listen to the same interesting things many times. Make the switch. Change your environment. Use English in your daily life as much as possible. Focus on comprehensible input. Try to understand most of what you read and listen to. Use Lewis's method. Read transcripts or subtitles first, look up unknown words, and then watch or listen to make native content more understandable.
That's a good summary, Mark. It's about getting lots of input, repeating it, making your life English focused, and making sure you understand enough to learn effectively.
Your journey is proof that it's possible to learn English well, even without living abroad. Do you have any final advice for English learners listening today?
Yes. Be patient with yourself. Learning takes time. Find materials that you genuinely enjoy. Movies, music, podcasts, books about your hobbies. If you enjoy it, you will stick with it. And be consistent. Try to do something in English every day, even if it's just for 15 minutes.
Wonderful advice. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and strategies with us today, Lewis. It was very insightful.
Thank you for having me, Mark. It was a pleasure. Good luck to all the listeners with their English learning.
And thank you all for listening to our podcast. Keep learning, and we'll see you next time.